Tijan.
Yeah. If you can hear me.
Hello, Tijan.
Yes.
Right,
you are ready?
No. Hello?
Yes.
Tijan.
Right, I can hear you.
Tijan.
Yes.
Hello?
Okay. Right. Can you take the music down, please? Good morning from Washington and good afternoon in Banjul and welcome to Talking Sports. Today my guest is an extraordinary person in sports circles in the Gambia and in Africa at large. No other but the greatest athlete of all time in the Gambia, by Male Mustafa Wada. I am Tijan Masanneh Ceesay, and this is Talking Sports, and let's get into it. Male Mustafa Wada, welcome to the program.
So ñëwee pour fay full year bi nga fay 75 ñu d'accord foofu. Yes, Tijan.
Welcome to the program, guys.
Thank you, Tijan.
Well, we are glad to have
How
you
is
on
it?
Talking
I hope
Sports.
everything well with you.
Well, yes, thank you. We are talking to you this afternoon or this morning from Washington. Without any iota of doubt, you are the greatest athlete in Gambian history. Today, we will talk about Real de Banjul, the team that you currently coach, and the team that you know well. We'll talk about the Gambian national team, your time, and the way forward on Gambian football within an hour. So, starting with Real de Banjul, I will give you a line and then I will leave you to get into it. And the line is Real de Banjul was founded in 1967 after a group of schoolboys returned from playing in Thiès, Senegal, and started what was then known as Benson and Hedges. By Mara, it's yours.
Yes, Tijan. I can say I started following Real from roughly 1968, 1969. When, well, 1967, we moved to New Perseverance from Buckle Street, and my uncle Nyangasala was one of the original members of that Benson and Hedges team. And he used to hold my hand and take me with him to real camps and real games and things like that. And since that time, I have been following and being a staunch supporter of Real de Banjul. And I witnessed all the ups and downs, or most of them, of Real de Banjul from that time up to now. And if I wanted to talk about some of these stories, it will take us a whole day about Real de Banjul. So I initially was the water boy for Real de Banjul around that period, and that gave me an opportunity to get into games because I carried the drums of water for drinking at halftime and during matches. And I, through that period, established great relationship with Hank Mamsed Njai, who was the manager, with people like Keva Diaz. We had a strong bond at that time, and after practice, he comes to our house for some afternoon leftover lunch and so forth, and also to drink some water. So I have been with Real, I would say, for most of its history, and been part of the team and what the team sort of enjoyed. I first played for Real de Banjul in 1975-76, and played my first international for Real de Banjul in Mali at the age of 15, 16, in an international game.
Against Joliba.
Against Joliba, that's right, in Bamako. And when they announced that the goalkeeper was 15 years old, everybody was looking for somebody else other than me. So that's my first experience of actually playing in a full game for Real de Banjul.
Wonderful. Now,
yeah,
let's talk about the way they played at the time. Real de Banjul invented the sendang back in the late 60s and the 70s. They played the best football in that country. I want to talk about that midfield trio. The original midfield general himself, the late Yusuf Sidi, Sehu Sarr, and Musa Njai Bakenboa. That midfield, I want you to talk about that midfield.
Well, actually, Tijan, even now that I'm coaching Real, I'm trying to bring that trio back alive in a sense. When I play a fixture of 4-3-3, I always think about those three, how they dominated games and dominated Gambian football, actually, because I remember watching Gambia play international game, and only two players were not real players, and that was Biri and Sega Job as goalkeeper. But the whole 9 players in that team were from Real de Banjo, and that showed the domination that that Real team had at that time. And that trio you talk about, each of them had certain qualities of the game that complemented each other, but different in all sense. Because you had Sehu as the holding midfielder, you had Yusuf Sivi as the brain, the creative brain, and you had Musa Njai just waiting for anything loose with a fantastic shot, and also a decent reversing passer of the ball. He had a good range of passes, but Yusuf Sivi had the guile. The short passes, the critical passes were all done by Yusufa. And all the fighting of winning the ball was done by Sehu. And all Sehu did was give the ball to Musa or give it to Captain Sibi. And then you had 2 fast wingers. In first, it was Nyangasala originally and Sterling Fai. And then you had people like Salih Fufun. Salih Fufun was very fast. As a striker, you had, what's his name again? Badufun. You had these very swift and guile players as center forwards, and the whole front line were very quick. And that was the strength of the team at the time. Plus, you had a very smart central defender in Papa Conte and Ibuju. Even though Ibuju didn't have speed, he was very knowledgeable of the game. He read the game very well, and that gave Real a stable sort of defense. Even though I think the weak link in the team was the goalkeeper, which was Sehunjai, who was a volleyball player. He was pretty tall and was poor with ground balls and so forth. But the team was strong enough to almost resist anybody. And I still recall those days when I coach now and what I try to bring to the team now.
Now, when Tijan Ceesay came from Arams and became, of course, one of the best goalkeepers ever in Gambian history, how did that change in terms of organization and the impact that Keba joining Real had on the overall development of the team?
Well, you said it. Keba at the time was, I would say, the best goalkeeper in the country, or one of the best at the time. And what it did was it stabilized the defense of the team because they had a better goalkeeper. He was definitely a better keeper than what's his name again? Sehunjai. And when Keba joined the team, it strengthened the defense of the team. And that's what I think Keba brought to Real more than anything else at that time. And I think that also improved the team in the sense that that's when the team started being really matured and we're winning a lot of games. So Keba coming into Real at that time really strengthened the team.
Okay. Now, let's talk about one of the biggest rivalries. I have 2 big Real rivalries. One was Walidan, of course, which Real was. How come Adonis was a bottleneck for them?
Well, it was because I think it was more a psychological thing. Adonis were a team that were sort of exclusive. they were like, I remember one time I tried to sneak in with them in one game and I said, I'll carry their water and so forth. They say, no, Sumaraka, Bokulofi, you know, they will not allow anybody to sort of join them other than their sort of fixed supporters and fans and everything. And they said they were a team of Murids in a sense, when you really think about it. And I remember the game that Real lost to them 4-2 when Real was leading 2-0, and they came from behind and scored 4 goals. And that was the famous Damagena Dogena between Keva, Ceesay
I knew you were going there.
and Baba Mbo. And I was a goalkeeper at the time, and I thought, you know, I could have saved some of those goals. But the Arans or Adonis people knew Keba from a long time. They were friends, they were teammates, and all these things. So I think psychologically they were able to get it above Real, despite the fact that Real was a better team. And this happens in football, because it's not just the physical aspect, there is the mental, there is the psychological aspect of the game, and it always has an impact on games. And while, Adonis had that on Real, unfortunately. We were always jittery when we played them.
Okay. Now, if you talk about experiment, I think Real de Banjul was one of the first teams back in the day when that league was tough to experiment with a schoolboy. And Jeremiah Sock, I think one of the finest halfbacks that ever played Gambian football before coming in. I remember right that season he made the Gambia national team and was part of that historic team that beat Guinea in Banjul 3-2. Tell me something about Jeremiah Sock then.
Well, Jeremiah had a good stature. I mean, he was big, he was strong, he was both-footed, he was both right and left, had a fantastic shot, and he also was very smart. He read the game very well. And he came in very young, and I think he could have played in the midfield, but, you know, they didn't want to mess with that midfield. So I think it was very smart at the time to play him left back, because Real has always struggled with their halfbacks. Like I said, I didn't even mention them when I was talking about the defense of the team, but Real has always struggled with their halfbacks, or what they call wingbacks now. I remember they've tried about 4 different people there. There was Tisus, there was Pindo, there was Applying Jai, you know, I mean, on the left side of that defense, and they all struggled in those positions. On the right, they had Sam Foster. He was a little bit more stable, but still, you know, they were those were the Achilles tendons actually of the team. Those were the only weak areas, the wing backs and the goalkeeper. But other than that, that Real team was just fantastic, you know, in every other position.
Let's talk about the man that they knew as last-minute goal, Albert Garnet Coker.
Yes. Well, Garnet was such a serious person, and he took the game too seriously. Even practice, Garnet was like, you know, he felt that he needed to score. He wanted to score, and he was just eager to score. And he took that to the game. It was just like, even Real is winning 4-0, 5-0, they bring him in, and they're trying to hold the ball and just enjoy themselves with the sandang you talked about. The moment Garnet gets the ball, he's heading to the goal. He didn't care. He was like, I need to score. I want to score. And he came mostly in the second half of games, and he scored most of the games that he played in, because he comes with that attitude, that mindset of, hey, I'm here to score. I'm a striker. I am going to score. And I think also he wanted to prove that he was good enough to start. But I think his fitness was always questionable. He didn't train that hard. He wanted to play, but really, I thought, didn't want to train hard. And I love the fact that anytime we also were in trouble and needed a goal. When he comes in, he really pushes, and we eventually would score when we're either him or somebody else because of his directness. He was like, always, give me the ball, I'm going for the goal, that kind of thing. And he played an important role in the team, even though he wasn't the starter.
Let's talk about somebody else that was cunning, that was fast, and that was very good with the ball. The late Jufai Butut.
Well, like I said, Juve came in after Sheikh Hussar, after his brother, Sheikh Omar Faye. And actually, Keba Dias came before him, but Keba Dias was moved into the center forward position, and then Butut took over. But Butut, like me, joined Real, at a tender age, when he was very young and not playing, but he kept practicing and just stuck to Real. A lot of teams and some of his friends were playing for Starlight and so forth, but he wouldn't go there. He stuck with Real until he had a chance, and he proved himself to be a formidable winger. So unfortunately, he didn't live that long, but he also played his part on that Real team.
Now, you just mentioned a team that some would say dethroned Real in the way they played. And, I want to get into that. Starlight Football Club. Like Modu Musa, Charlie Boy, Tony Joyner, Sukuro, Star Jallo, Alaji Nyan, Alpha Jallo, Idarka, Bill Baji, Chucha Sambu, Belai Prom. Let's talk about that team. I think it was a formidable team. And if anything was close to Real at the time, the way they played the game, it was Starlight.
Yeah, well, Tijan, what I think is that Real sort of revolutionized the game in Gambia.
Without a doubt.
They changed the way the game is played in Gambia. And at the time, again, Starlight were like a group of young people, maybe a little younger than Real, the Real players. They were like the next generation. Well, the Real players were maybe 2 years, 3 years older than the Starlight players. So, they were younger and they were seeing the modern game. The way the game was being played at that time. And they gave the big boys a tough time because they were young and they were coming with the new style of football. Because I think if someone studies the history of football, which for someone like me, I've been following football since, late 60s.
It looks like we're losing our connection to Banjul there.
And that has happened in football over time. Actually, I say to people right now that football is going through a revolution again. So it seems that almost every 10 to 20 years, the game goes through some revolution. And if someone has been following football properly, it was in that period that football was being transformed, which was like after this 1970 World Cup. You had in 74 that Holland team that talked about total football with Johan Cruyff. And the idea that Ajax and Holland brought to football. And I am saying to people that that was, again, revolutionized maybe in about 10, 15 years back with this tiki-taka. Now football is also being transformed again with the idea of even playing without a striker. And people like Pep Guardiola, who's also a disciple of Johan Cruyff, okay, are trying to transform football again. But real came in that period that football was being transformed. And they tried to play the beautiful game in that transformation. And Starlight came into that period too, of where the game was being transformed and, you know, that kind of thing. And sort of it is in the late 90s and so forth that science started coming into the game, and the game then started being transformed again. So when I look at football and my exposure to it, I see that almost every 20 years, there is some transformation happening in the game.
Wonderful.
So Real was fortunate to be part of that transformation in Gambian football, and Starlight. Hello.
All right. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some rivalries here. Real Augustinians. Take me back to that Gold Cup final in 1973-74 with the masterful Yusuf Assimi volley when Augustinians brought players from Senegal. I know you remember that final. It's one that should be in the history books of Gambian football. The Gold Cup final.
Yes, Tijan, I can remember that game vividly because Mom Said had asked me. Mom Said had asked me to get some lemons and extra bottle of water in the event we get to extra time. And I remember sitting there trembling with a bag of lemon and a bottle of water throughout the game. From at the time, Augustinians was the top team. And I think from that game brought the transformation in Gambian football that there is a new master in the country. And that was Real de Banjul. And taking taking Augustinians from the sort of top of Gambian football. That game, Tijan, I camped with the team for, I think we camped even for 2 days instead of just one night. For that final at 81 Lancaster, and Augustinians were at 85. I think that's Paprom's house. So it was a tough game, and I remember because there were no lights, the winning goal was scored almost in the dark. It was a corner kick around the police line's end. And Captain Sibi scored the third goal, the winning goal, because Augustinians were leading throughout the game. 1-0, Real equalized. They went 2-1, Real equalized, and then it went into extra time. And it was in the second half of the extra time that Captain Sibi scored that famous header in like almost 7 o'clock at night, or even after 7, I would say, that he scored the goal. And I can still vividly recall that goal. Paprom had brought 3 players from Senegal, a goalkeeper, a striker, and a midfield player. And I remember one of them running around, throwing salt around the field, the other one rice, I think, and then someone had eggs and running and broke it in the post. I mean, it was those things I can still recall. But it was a nerve-wracking game for someone like me, who was not a player, but also very much part of the Real team. at the time. So there are other things I can recall, pre-match and all these things with the Nyiris and all the things that went with football at the time. But for me, it was nerve-wracking. Even though I wasn't playing, I was trembling for the whole game. So I think that game sort of made Real sort of be the team to reckon with in Gambian football. That was the thing that said, hey, these kids are here and they are here to be on top. And that time there was no Walidan. And like I said, Augustinians was the top team. They had the year before also beaten Arans 6-1. And Arans had to break up and start a new team as Adonis. But it is from that Walidan team, that Augustinians team that Walidan was formed. With Biri, Babu Sow, Alagi, what's his last name? Tourist boy, Pamodu Fall, Chops Fall,
Babu Sow,
Babu Sow, and then there was like Sega and some of these other people.
Salimon Yassi.
So Dalasi, yes, Dalasi, I can recall. Dalasi. I think who else can I remember from Augustinians at that time? I know because people like Danny, who was captain, like Moses Train, were from Augustinians but didn't go to Walidan. Then there was, I think, SS Superstar went to Real. Leon Prom went to Real. Who else do I remember from that era?
Jocobel.
Yeah, but Jocobel stayed there until he went to Port.
Yeah.
I'm trying to recall. There was some Congolese guy.
Oh yeah, Congolese.
Congolese.
That was the guy they called Adefo Shoot, right?
Adefo Shoot. That's it. Congolese. Yeah, and people like August Prom and Garincha. Garincha was still there, but August had left for studies with Garincha. Gomez, Solomon Gomez. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because those were the top players in Gambian football. And for the national team was being captained by Danny Njai, but he was partnering with Moses String in the middle. And then you had people like who do I recall? Biri was there at Augustinians.
Peterson, halfback.
Yes. And
Taflanda Roberts.
Well, Taflanda. Actually, Taflanda came after those two. Okay. After Danny left for the US.
Okay.
That's when Taflanda came, I think. And then there was this other kid, long, tall guy, played left back.
Yuku Silva.
No, he used to work at NTC. I can't remember his name now.
Okay. Oh,
he's
Pambai.
Pambai, that's it. Pambai. Yeah, Pambai. Yeah, Pambai. So I remember those guys.
Philip Sow came after too, right?
Philip Sow came after, yes. Philip Sow came after. Then he joined Real. Philip Sow joined Real after.
Yes, and Walidan. He played for Walidan too.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
Now,
let's go into the last question in this segment. Somebody that you watched and idolized, and then you would play with him and be with him in the Gambia national team. And also, as far as I can remember, best friends. He played for Walidan, the greatest of all time. Alhaji Njai Biri, it's all yours.
Tijan, again, if I want to talk about Biri and the stories of Biri, will be here until evening. And I have a game today. You know my relationship with Biri. He's someone I admired and adore throughout his life. From when I knew him, from following him Sunday mornings, Saturday mornings, playing at Makati Square, and then in the afternoon playing again at Box Bar. And the game I told you about, Augustinians beating Arans 6-1. I followed Biri from Box Bar, and they were heading to Adonis Hotel at the time at Wellington Street. And then from Hill Street and Buckle Street, all the way into Adonis Hotel, I was on top of Biri's shoulders as a young, small boy. So my relationship with Biri stems way back, being like 9 years old, 10 years old. And you were there at Perseverance when you guys hang out at my house at New Perseverance, and I take all of you guys to Biri's house. And you saw the relationship, the love, the brotherhood, the respect and admiration I had for Biri. And all the nonsenses that Biri accepted from me and from you guys, because I brought you guys there, shows millions about the character of Biri, in that he was so coming that I sometimes used to feel ashamed when I recall the things I've done to him and said to him and all these things, and all that he accepted from me without ever hitting me or being angry with me. He might curse me once in a while, but he showed so much respect and love for me. I can't say, or I can't narrate all the stories and episodes and dramas with him, because like I said, I can talk about Biri for hours. But the best thing I can say about him was Biri was such a giving person. He was such a nice person, but also he will stick out against disadvantage. Biri is ready to fight anybody. Okay? If he believes that you are overstepping or doing something that wasn't right, he's ready to take you. But he was so sort of admitting, so accepting as far as young people are concerned. And Biri would be walking down the street and see some kids playing, and Biri will join in, pick the ball, tap, 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 try to dribble some little kid, laugh with them, and go on. And these would be kids that he doesn't even know. So Biri for me was just an exceptional person, not just an exceptional footballer, but an exceptional person. And he was really a good human being. He's not here, but like I said, it's not that's the reason I'm saying it. I'm saying it from my experience, which some you guys also experienced in a sense, because we were all together at his place almost every day. Or he will come to my house and we will hang there, and he accepted. And I'm saying some of you guys, Biri could be your father, but you will make fun of him and he will laugh, he will joke with all of us. And we had a swell time with Biri. All I can recall is just nice times with Biri. And for me, he was my idol, he was my brother, he was my elder, he was my friend, he was my everything. So it was really a pleasure knowing such a great footballer, because Biri for me was the greatest African footballer ever, and he still is in my book. I might be biased, but that's my position.
And I agree with you. And just you talking about how he would be ready to fight. Brings back memories here.
Don't bring that story up with the Senegalese man. And the Afra at Mosque Road.
Yeah, exactly. And the Scrabble game.
I know that's where you are heading.
No, the Scrabble game with
KSS. Don't start, because if we start on Piri, we can be here until tomorrow, and I have a game in 2 hours' time.
Of course. Alaji Mada, it was something else. Now, guys, let's talk about the Gambia national team, your time.
Yes.
First of all, let me be on the record and say there is nobody that ever scored 4 goals against Guinea-Conakry. Only one person did it, and it's you, by Malewada. No action, 1983. And I think that is for the records, and it will stay infinitum. Now, as a kid, I camped with you guys, the national team. You guys were not endowed with the resources that Gambian football is endowed with today. But you guys just were so committed and so patriotic. You know, just camping at the depot with all those mosquitoes, Muronan in the morning, you know, Benachin at 10 o'clock at night. In comparison, if you look back today, what would have, if you had what they have today? Given, I remember in 83, you were very close to qualifying to the Nations Cup. Give me that. Are we frozen? Wow. Did we look? It looks like we lost him. Wow. Well, it looks like we've lost by Malewada. We had 2 segments to go into. We were just going into our second segment, the Gambia national team. And then we would have talked about Gambian football and the way forward. Well, technology does fail us sometimes, and it is one of those days. For all of us here at Linger Post, till we come your way again, hopefully, with Baimale Mustafa Wada, I am Tijan Masanneh Ceesay, ending this edition of Talking Sports. Our guest next week will be William Abraham, the president of Real the Banjul. Hopefully, we can catch up with Baimale Mustafa Wada again, and we will finish the last 2 segments. For the entire team from Washington, so long, and have a pleasant Tuesday afternoon in my neck of the woods, and a pleasant Tuesday evening. For all our Christian brethren, friends, and families, that will embark on the 40-day period of fasting starting tomorrow on Ash Wednesday. We send you our love and best wishes, and we'll pray with you throughout the Lenten season. Till then, I am out.